When I was 19, I raised a 15-year-old boy. 3 years later, he turned 18 and said he wanted to marry me. My name is Ning. When I was 18, I couldn't stand my family anymore, so I packed a suitcase and left. Back then I had no education, no skills, and I was still young. I couldn't find a decent job at all. Just to survive, I ended up working at a KTV in the city. Every day I had to read people's faces. When I drank until I threw up, I'd hide in the bathroom and make myself vomit. I could only swallow my tears. I didn't dare open up to anyone. And I didn't trust anyone either. Until I was 19. In a group for runaway youths, I met Zhang Yu. He added me first. At first, he didn't talk much. He would quietly listen to me vent. After talking for a long time, I found out he was only 15. A full 4 years younger than me. He was just like me, dropped out and left home at a young age. Renting a place on his own. Getting by with odd jobs. At that moment, that shared hardship brought us close instantly. Being together. Even suffering felt easier with someone by your side. Not long after, we met in person. The moment I saw him, my heart ached even more. He looked even younger than his age. He said he had nowhere to stay. Without hesitation, I brought him back to my small rental. He was only 15, with barely any life experience, so the burden of earning money naturally fell on me. I never complained. Even though I had to drink at KTV until dawn every day. Even though I had to endure all kinds of humiliation, as long as I saw him when I got home. I felt it was all worth it. He was very considerate too, keeping everything at home neat and tidy. Every night when I got home at dawn, there was always warm water waiting on the table. Dirty clothes. He never let me touch them. He washed them overnight and hung them to dry. The floor of the rental was mopped spotless every day. The bed was always neatly made. He didn't say sweet words, but he remembered what I didn't eat. When I was too tired to talk, he would quietly sit beside me, pat my back and lull me to sleep. Back then I would often stare at his face and tell myself, Ning, no matter how hard it is, it's worth it. You're not alone anymore. We were together for so long. We hardly ever argued. There was only one time we had a conflict, and it still hurts to think about it. That day I was bullied by customers all night and felt terrible. When I got home, there was no food, and I snapped at him. He didn't argue back at all. Instead, he slapped himself hard twice. His face turned red instantly. He lowered his head, choking up. Ning, I'm sorry. I'm useless. I can't make money to support you. And I still make you suffer out there. It's all my fault. I panicked right away and hugged him tightly, crying with him, apologizing over and over. Back then I was naive. I thought he truly cared about me and truly felt guilty. But I never thought someone who truly loves you would let you earn money by sacrificing your dignity. I worked at a KTV, smiling for customers, drinking until I felt completely sick every day. Sometimes I got bullied and could only cry in secret when I got home. I never hid any of this from him. He saw everything clearly. But he never stopped me. He just pretended not to know and spent my money without a second thought. It's not like I didn't know this money wasn't earned with dignity. But I had no choice. I had to support both of us. I wanted to save up a future for us. One time, I came home drunk and threw up all over the floor. While cleaning up, he asked me, "How much did you drink today?" "I don't remember." He paused for a moment. "Maybe you should quit that job." I froze for a second. Quit? If I quit, what are we going to eat? He didn't say anything. After a while, he leaned in and whispered, Ning, wait for me. When I'm old enough, I'll marry you. Once I can make money, I'll never let you suffer like this again. That sentence I held onto for 3 whole years, and waited desperately for 3 years. Time flew, and it was 2025. Jong-yu finally turned 18. Ning Ning. I'm planning to go to a nearby city to find a proper job. Once I'm settled, I'll bring you over. We'll rent a bigger place. And live a good life. Then we'll get married. I was so excited. I felt like the hardship was finally ending. I could finally leave that toxic KDV life behind. And finally start a new life with him. For that promise, I worked like my life depended on it. I took jobs others didn't want. I drank what others refused to drink. Sometimes I rushed through several sessions in a row, drinking until I couldn't even stand. There was only one thought in my mind. Earn more. Just a little more, so I could start a new life with him sooner. He said keeping money together would get messy. So he told me to transfer all my savings to him. He'd keep it safe for me. And when I joined him, we'd use it for rent and daily necessities. To settle down properly. It's not like I never wondered whether trusting someone with all my money was safe. But he always said, we're family. Why split yours and mine? And in those 3 years, he never once asked me for money. I was always the one offering it. So I believed he truly saw me as his own. So I let my guard down completely. Every time I got paid, aside from my monthly food expenses, I transferred every single cent to him. Altogether, bit by bit. It added up to over 50,000 yuans. After going long distance, we only met twice. And every time, he was in a rush. Ning Ning, I'm really busy with work now. My boss is strict. I can only stay 1 day this time. One time when he was leaving, I held his hand and asked, when can I come to your city? He said, soon. Just wait a bit longer. Once I'm settled, I'll come get you. I was really foolish. Foolish enough to mistake his indifference for being busy. During the new year, he even asked me for a red envelope. Acting cute, saying it was for good luck. At that time, I didn't even have money to buy myself new clothes. But I still gritted my teeth and sent him 1,000 yuans. I thought after the new year, I would quit my KDV job, buy a ticket to his city, and never be apart again. We had agreed on it. After the Lantern Festival, I was going to go find him. I quit my job half a month in advance and said goodbye to my only friend. I happily bought my ticket. I still remember that day, holding the ticket. I eagerly messaged him, Jong-yu. I've bought the ticket. I'll be by your side the day after tomorrow. After I sent the message, what I got wasn't a happy reply, but a red exclamation mark. He had blocked me. Blocked on WeChat. Blocked my phone number, even the app we used to chat on. He deleted his account. The boy I had supported for 3 years, who promised to marry me, after becoming an adult, took all my money and completely disappeared. I stood there on the street, frozen in place, unable to react for a long time. I went crazy sending him messages, calling him over and over again. None of it went through. I crouched by the roadside, tears streaming uncontrollably, crying until I could barely breathe. What did I do wrong? I just wanted a home. I just wanted someone by my side. I gave him everything I had. My only hope. My entire savings. So why did he treat me like this? That 50,000 plus was earned at the cost of my dignity. I fought for it with everything I had. I didn't leave myself any backup. Yet he didn't even leave me a way out. I had no money. Nowhere to live. No job, not even food to eat. In the end, I had no choice but to go to my only friend and squeeze into their rented room. My friend told me to call the police. With my last bit of hope, I went to the station and explained everything. After listening, the officer asked, "You were in a relationship?" "Yes." "And you transferred the money voluntarily?" "Yes." "No IOU?" No evidence of fraud? Then it'll be very hard to get the money back. Unless you file a lawsuit. I stood there stunned. A lawsuit? How much would that cost? A few thousand. Depends on the lawyer. I stood outside the police station. I couldn't even cry anymore. I didn't even have a few dollars left. At that moment, I felt completely hopeless. I suddenly realized, these 3 years of mine were like a cruel joke. From the very beginning, he knew I was earning money in the worst way. And he spent it without guilt. Then once he became an adult, he kicked me aside and took everything I had. In this relationship, I gave everything. My dignity. My whole heart. And in the end, I was left with nothing. No way out. Girls, in this life, don't easily raise a boy into a man. Don't bet your entire life on a relationship. And don't lose yourself in love. Don't expect your sacrifices to move someone who doesn't love you. And don't use your sincerity to feed a selfish, ungrateful person. If you're loving someone with everything you have, just remember, keep some rationality for yourself and leave yourself a way out.